the airliner that makes supersonic travel a reality. Sleek and graceful, flying twice the speed of sound, a symbol of prestige with a perfect safety record. But 113 people will perish in just 120 seconds. Now, using cutting-edge computer technology, we reveal exactly what went wrong. Europe, France, Paris, July 25, 2000, Charles de Gaulle Airport. 12:30 in the afternoon. 100 men, women and children check in for flight AF 4590. They come from all over Germany and are expecting the trip of a lifetime. A dream holiday. It starts with a supersonic flight on Concorde to New York. Then, a luxury cruise in the Caribbean. Concorde is a plane like no other. Elegant, luxurious, and above all, super fast. Flying at more than 2,200 kilometers per hour, Concorde links North America to London or Paris in 3 3/4 hours. Concorde's unique shape, with a pencil-thin cabin and vast delta wings, enable her to race across the sky at 3 kilometers every 6 seconds. John Hutchinson has flown Concorde for 15 years.
Best way of describing it is simply to say that it was a thoroughbred. It was a beautiful, responsive, powerful airplane, like, I don't know, the Kentucky Derby winner, if you like.
By 1:30, all of the passengers are checked in for their supersonic trip. The pilot, Captain Christian Marty, is already in the cockpit preparing for the flight. The holidaymakers are in good hands. 54-year-old Marty is one of Air France's most experienced pilots. An adventurer of extraordinary talents. In 1982, Christian Marty was the first Frenchman to windsurf across the Atlantic. He's a national celebrity. On board Concorde, Captain Marty runs through his pre-flight check. His air traffic controller is the experienced Gilles Logelin, who arrives to start his afternoon shift.
I was on GTL, Southern Control Tower of Paris Airport, Charles de Gaulle. This particular day I was not supposed to work. One of my colleagues the day before asked me for a transfer of shift, so he did my morning shift and I did his afternoon shift.
With the change of shift comes an unexpected bonus. Gilles Logelin is now the controller responsible for Concorde's departure.
The Concorde is one of the most beautiful planes I've ever seen. The line is pure. I really like to watch this plane landing, taking off.
During his pre-flight check, Captain Marty learns that engine number 2 has a technical fault. A small part needs replacing. It isn't serious, but with Concorde, safety is always paramount. After 40,000 flights and 900,000 flying hours, there's never been a fatality. The repair delays Concorde's departure by 1 hour. 3:54. The passengers start to board. Among them are the Eich family, Christian and Andrea, and their 2 young children, Maximilian and Katerina. Klaus and Margaret Frenson are both school teachers who've saved for the trip for 20 years. ordinary families off on an extraordinary adventure. At 4:35 in the afternoon, Concorde is ready to depart. Anticipation on board mounts as the supersonic jet taxis to the runway. In the control tower, Gilles Rogelin clears Air France flight 4590 for takeoff on runway 26 right. It's 4:40 in the afternoon. So far, for passengers and crew, everything is normal. Captain Marty lines up the plane at the start of the runway, ready to release the power of Concorde's 4 Rolls-Royce engines. For senior pilot John Hutchinson, a moment like this is always special.
As you open the throttles up full power, you'd feel this huge surge of power in the small of your back as the airplane accelerates down the runway, and you just get the feeling that the one thing the airplane wants to do at that point is to get into the air as quickly as possible, into its natural environment.
In the control tower, Gilles Rogelin monitors the takeoff.
I was watching the Concorde gaining power on the runway because it was so nice to see that. It's a very heavy plane, so you know at the beginning is quite slow, and then you gain the speed.
Concorde accelerates down the 4,000-meter runway. It passes through 320 kilometers per hour. Using computer graphics, we recreate what happens next. For Gilles Rogelin, it's a moment of sheer horror.
Suddenly, I saw a flame just behind the body of the aircraft. So I jumped on my mic to say, Air France 4590, you have flames behind you.
Captain Marty cannot see the flames, but accelerating through 328 kilometers per hour, Concorde is committed to the takeoff. There are only 2,000 meters of runway left, but Concorde needs 3,000 meters to have any chance of stopping safely.
After the speed, whatever is the situation, the plane has to take off. It could not abort the takeoff. And as I was watching the flames, I saw the nose of the Concorde lifting up.
At 4:43 and 15 seconds, Captain Marty pulls on the control stick. Concorde takes to the air. This is how Concorde flight AF 4590 appears to witnesses. Martine Bournet works in an office on the western edge of the airport. At 4:44, she sees a terrifying sight.
I was looking out of my window and I saw Concorde taking off very slowly with the back of the plane on fire. I was really afraid. Because of the flames, I was convinced that the plane was going to explode right here in front of the office.
The stricken airliner flies directly overhead. Close by where Martine works, courier Emmanuel Vermignon is driving his van past the end of the runway.
When Concorde went over, I had the window open and I was wearing a polo shirt. And I can tell you that the heat the plane was belching out melted parts of my shirt and gave me little blisters. I could really feel the heat on the ground.
While Captain Marty struggles with the controls to gain altitude, out of his vision, flames engulf the left wing. The sickening sight is caught on camera by the wife of a truck driver. It is the only video footage ever captured showing Concorde on fire. It'll prove to be a vital link in the investigation. At Paris Airport, a supersonic Concorde has just taken off, but now the plane is on fire and 109 people on board are facing peril. The next 69 seconds will be critical. 4:43 and 30 seconds. Concorde is struggling to remain in the air. It's only 30 meters off the ground and the crippled plane is on a collision course. The town of Gonesse and its 25,000 people lie directly in its path. Driving towards the petrol station she owns in Gonesse is Christine Turpin.
I was returning home when I saw a plane. It was Concorde, with fire coming out of the back of it. I slowed down, and I saw the plane in flames.
Captain Marty is running out of options. Concorde's left wing is disintegrating. Businessman Patrick Tess is directly in the plane's path.
I was in my office talking to an agency. The window faces the runway, and I was interrupted by an incredible noise. It was Concorde. It was on fire, and it was listing violently.
Concorde lurches to the left. The plane stalls and plunges to the ground. It's 4:45. It's the moment every air traffic controller dreads. Gilles Logelin reaches for his mic.
I've called the Air France and I said, Air France 4590, do you hear me?
Air France 4590, me recevez-vous?
I said it twice.
Air France 4590, me recevez-vous?
There was no answer.
The supersonic jet, loaded with fuel and 109 people on board, crashes right on top of a hotel on the outskirts of Gonesse. A terrifying fireball tears through the building. British teacher Alice Brooking has just checked into a first-floor room.
So I went straight for the door of the room that I was in. Saw all the flames, saw there was no way out via the stairs. I leapt across the room, leapt across the bed to the window. Saw, luckily, that the receptionist was already down in the car park underneath me, and he just said, "You have to jump."
At the same time, Christine Turpin also witnesses the explosion and fears the worst.
It fell, and from where I was, I thought it had landed on the gas station. And I thought because my daughter and the girl who works for me were there, that they were all dead.
As Christine Turpin drives in, a passenger armrest falls onto the petrol station. Within 8 minutes of the crash, dozens of fire engines and ambulances race to the scene. An appalling tragedy, not just for those on Concorde, but for those in the hotel. Regional Fire Chief Colonel Fabrice Chauvin leads the rescue.
Whilst driving, there were many things going through my mind. The important thing for me was to divide the operation into two separate parts. One, the aircraft crash, extinguishing the fire and the rescue of any survivors. And two, organising treatment for the wounded before they're evacuated to hospital.
The intensity of the fire is so great that it'll take 3 hours to bring it under control. As these TV news images show, the charred remains of the airliner and the hotel